Every time you see people talk about youth empowerment, and the only thing that comes to their mind is led by football. But it doesn't make sense. Moving here is you must be prepared to unlearn. You can't hammer in 1 year.
Welcome to the Breaking Coconut Show. Hi Andy.
Hey man.
Finally good to meet you.
Finally.
So this is Andy UK version.
Yes, sir.
So the last time we met prior to this was in Nigeria, and first of all, saying congratulations on all your milestones. Firstly, the one we can remember is being a councillor, the first generation councillor in Derby County, right?
Yeah, first African to be elected as a councillor in Derby.
So
Derby City Council, yeah.
So congrats on that. Then secondly, is congrats to, I heard your party are the ones in power. So it means that I can come close to the person in power. I'm closer to power.
I wish.
Good. So I'm saying this because our perspective of getting involved in service is always different from what it is in Africa.
Yeah.
So for you deciding to serve, coming as a councillor, and the last time I knew Ndukwe is like he's an ad man. Anytime you hear Abia, he carries it on his head. And he's a poet. So there's several versions of you that I hope we'll have time to talk about. But first of all, congrats on your milestone and good to have you here.
Thanks, man. Thank you. It's been quite a journey. It's been quite interesting. You know, as you mentioned, coming here and in under 3 years being elected as a councillor, being elected as the first African in Derby City Council, and you know, it's just been. Sometimes you want to pinch yourself and like, wow, you know, is this real? Yeah, you know, but it's been quite an interesting journey, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to serve.
How was it easy for the people to believe in you, to give you their trust, to lead them?
Yeah, it's more you know, like, to serve them, you know, and that's also the contrast with maybe in Nigeria where we're coming from and here. Here you're putting forth your argument, you're putting forth your manifesto, people are scrutinizing your manifesto, and then they make the decision to either trust your party, because again, you need to remember, you know, we run the parliamentary system here. Yeah. So they make the decision to either trust your party, you know, with governance or not. And on this occasion, they did trust us because we campaigned on, you know, real issues that people could feel, tangible issues, and that really is how it should go. With you know, how I don't know how I can't say I managed to convince them, but I think maybe someone saw something and said, well, you know what, we believe or trust this guy. In fact, there was this lady, one story I like to tell is this, you know, elderly white woman came up to me one day and said, you know what, I voted for you, but I don't know how to pronounce your name.
So why did she vote? She just believed.
So you see, what that for me was amazing. It was a lovely story to tell because she looked beyond whether this was the familiar.
Yes.
You know, whether it was a name or whether it was the face or whether it was my status, you know, my migrant status, or not. She looked beyond all that and said, you know what, I do think, you know, this guy has something to offer. You know, so when she said that to me, you know, it was quite heartwarming that at least the stories, despite our individual differences, once we agree on a vision for the future, you know, we can all walk towards it.
How's the journey been like? So I'm saying, how's the journey been like? I want you to take me from living Nigeria, coming in here, work, juggling work, and also serving in that capacity. What's your journey been like? I'm looking at someone in any part of the world, looking at someone like you that have come here and the people have given you their own confidence to lead them. What's your story like? How was it easy for you to integrate, to serve and still work? Because I'm saying serve because I understand that being in power doesn't mean that you're in power. It means you're also serving and you're also working. How has it been like juggling family, juggling work, and making an impact in this part of the world?
So it's quite interesting, because everything is interwoven. So yes, I mean, I'm a counselor, I'm in politics, but I'm also an ad man. I'm in advertising, but I'm also a poet, spoken word poet, storyteller. Filmmaker. We just shot, well, not just, but last year we shot our short film Adani, and that has been doing well, in the festivals. Um, I say, but I mention all this to show how interwoven everything is. So let's start from Nigeria. Um, People knew me for the first, say, 5, 6 years that they got to know me as an ad person. And then suddenly, somewhere down the line, and spoken word poet, I was like, how come? But what a lot of them don't understand is that poetry got me my first job in advertising.
Interesting.
Because I remember after NYSC or doing NYSC, I was speaking to some guy. I was like, look, I studied history and international relations. I have no idea what I want to do. And he said, well, I've read a few of your poems. You write poetry, don't you? I said, yeah. So he said, well, you might be suited for a role as a copywriter. And I was like, what is that? And he told me about advertising. So after immediately I got back from NYC, I went, I grew up in Abia, went to Abia, dropped my stuff, said goodbye. Next day or 2 days later, got on the bus to Lagos, went to Lagos, started knocking on doors, knocked on different agencies. I remember S1U, GWT, Insight, a whole load of them, until I think a lady by the name of Akbo got tired of me and said, you know what, just come and sit down here, let's give you a test. They gave me a test. I wrote some poems. So like, you know what, there's something there. So poetry got me foot into the door. And I, of course, as people know, rose through the ranks, became creative director at 7 Interactive. But I didn't stop. Along the line, I didn't stop poetry. I was part of the ensemble that had Nigeria's first spoken word theater play. We toured Nigeria, toured Germany, came back. And I decided, let's put this into an album. So I had 2 albums. And then Nigeria started happening, as we say, Nigeria just started happening to everyone. And I think it was a trigger for a lot of people, 20th of November 2020. 20th of October 2020. And then we thought, you know what, this is it. And too old to get points for Canada. As everybody was doing.
Was going to.
So we thought, well, you know what, I'm a poet. There's a stream called, Global Talent. Why not apply with your poetry? And it was quite interesting because before then, when I say to my wife, I'm going to the studio, I'm going to, record my album, she would just be laughing, like, look, is it this your age? At this your age, you want to become a rapper? But again, it's, if you're a Christian and you also believe that God works, in the affairs of men, it's sort of like how God was just weaving, all the threads of those things. So it turned out that this thing that was a joke, some years ago, suddenly poetry suddenly became the thing that opened the doors for me. So now this was the second time poetry would be playing
a major role in your career.
A role, a major role in my life story. Got endorsed by the Art Council, got here as a spoken word poet. Now, of course, and I've worked with Derby Theatre, worked with Oxford University, some of the events they've put up there. Worked with Lydia Idakula's Tarua Africa Center, amazing lady, amazing company, and then but also still maintained my career in advertising, but all through this there was always something that was constantly pulling, and that was politics. In Nigeria since '99, I've voted in every single election apart from one.
Okay.
And if you make 2020, if you count 2023, apart from 2, So, but again, I wasn't in Nigeria in 23. But, you know, decided to join the Labour Party because, again, this was the party that aligned most with my ideology, my ideas, and just joined. And after a while, someone said to me, you know what, you could start for council. I'm like, huh? Look,
You just came into this.
Yeah, I just came here. I don't even have indefinite, leave to remain. And you're like, no, you're a Commonwealth citizen. You can. And so I stood, to be a councillor, and I'm here. But the thing is, through it all, the three constants have always been, poetry or advertising. But I'll say it's sort of like the storytelling, but always wanting to refine or redefine how we tell our own stories as Nigerians, as Africans, as we know it, and politics.
So what you're saying is this, because it's good you had to tell this part clearly. Mm-hmm. If I'm a poet in Nigeria and and everybody's like, what's in poetry go do for you? Because I'm using that line because that's what it sounds like. And you're telling me now that, is this poetry? Yes, it's poetry that brought me to the UK. It's poetry. So that's what you're saying.
Look, so it's, yes, but the thing is that, it's quite pertinent that you ask this question, because the arts is criminally overlooked in Nigeria. The place of the arts. If you look at where Nigeria is in terms of our global soft power, is in the arts.
Yes.
Is in the music.
Yes, it's in the music.
Movies. It's in the movies. And whether you like it or not, laugh at it or not, but Nollywood has been a huge look. That I'm sat sometimes in salons if I go to London, I said maybe I want to touch up my locks or wherever I am. But I remember this because I've seen it so many times in London. I'm sat in a salon and they're watching Nollywood. In fact, they're watching what we now call Asaba Nollywood. And I'm like, and these people are not Nigerians. These are Ugandans. These are.
You kidding me?
No, look, we do not understand, or rather, the Nigerian government does not understand the impact of our soft power. They do not understand it. I've been to at least 3 or 4 salons in London. I've never entered, apart from one. Which was a Jamaican place, and big up to they were playing their music, and because again they have very significant power when it comes to storytelling. They have a huge influence, the Jamaicans and the rest of the Caribbeans, but Jamaicans especially. But in the other places which were owned and run by East or Southern Africans, there was always some Nigerian content going. So when people say, "What in poetry would do for me?" what I would say is keep going. But on the flip side, that question should be directed at the government, because they have a huge. Every time they have a huge part to play, and every time you see people talk about youth empowerment, and the next thing that comes to their mind is led by football. But it doesn't make sense.
True.
That you're focusing on just football. When you're talking about youth empowerment. We are a people of stories. We are a people of creative prowess. We should be supercharging our creative industry in Nigeria.
True.
And so for me, I'm an example that thing that was just passion. And interestingly, I know a a good friend who's also, and because I don't know if you would want me to mention his name, I won't. But he's here because of his poetry. I know someone who is here because of his illustration. I know someone who is here because of her work in theater. Another person who is here because of his work in music. These are people who
are kings in their field.
They are good. And In Nigeria, they would have had to just keep hitting on doors. Sadly, you succeed in Nigeria through your sheer willpower.
Yeah.
Whereas here, there are structures,
Yeah.
there are grants that can help you tap more into those into your creativity and empower not just the entire community, just by your storytelling, but also create jobs.
Very important. So I think that answers more question because I am, and I'm sure this is the part of the story that everybody will like. That say poets say I be poetry and they do poetry. There is a hope in it. Now, what do you think has worked for you in this part of the world? What are those things you think now? You wear 3 hats, and I'll remind you of the hat. You wear the hat as a councillor for the people of Debbie. You wear the hat as an ad man, and you wear the hat of a poet. And there's also one hat that I know you wear is the Abia hat. Wherever you go, you carry your state Abia. Oh, I know you're a cultural person, and that's interesting. Seeing someone that finally has several hats he's wearing, but is not as in. He doesn't see it as it's part of you, your identity, your ability to hold on to your identity in these things. How has it been for you? How is work like for you in this part of the world?
I mean, I know some people laugh when I say interesting because I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday, and she said, "You always use that word interesting because
it's a better way to
it's a better way to just summarize the complexity of thought." But what has been I'll say here, there's again, as I mentioned before, there's a lot more structure.
Okay.
So you can break down what you do. In Nigeria, I was a copywriter.
Okay.
So that means a copywriter. But here, I speak to people and I'm like, oh, so what sort of copywriter are you? I'm like, what? I'm a copywriter. Like, no, do you do SEO? Do you write for healthcare? Do you write for this? Do you write for that? So you're not burdened with having to do everything. Here, you can actually specialize in some. So that is something that one still has to relearn.
Okay.
And then, of course, the politics. It's there, as with everything, you learn on the job. You learn by following, by watching. But then there's also, again, that structure. So there are trainings that I'm asked to go on. There are trainings that are mandatory.
Okay.
For one to do. So there really is little or no excuse for not excelling at it. But which is also sadly quite different from where we're coming from.
Yeah.
In terms of what matters is more your loyalty to someone or to a group. What we always like to talk about in Nigeria, when things get out of hand, you say, oh, it's not me, it's a cabal.
It's a cabal.
But more than what it is you can bring, here I've and it's not to say, don't get it twisted. It's not to say that loyalty does not, it plays a huge part. We like to say in Nigeria that, things are all about who you know, my brother. Here, even more than Nigeria, I am is a thing. But you see that this place benefits from the concept of a lot more structure. And and this also goes into poetry as well, where you have grants. There are grants available for people to just sit down and create.
Okay.
So you get grants to help you pay your bill, to help you do other stuff you have been thinking of trying to hustle for.
Yeah.
They say, you know what, your job is to create. So just sit here for the next 3-4 months or whatever. Create and take this money to help you sort out those daily needs. Because at the end of the day, what you're interested in is your output.
Yes.
And how they can help you develop it, and at the end of the day also grow from it. And then lastly, to Abia, there are 2 parts to it. One, I'm an Abia man. And
Yeah.
in there's a joke that in every aspect of our life, we are Abia first before you are even a Christian or whatever it is. But it's something I love about that culture. That there's always, at every point in your life, you're always reminded, this is who you are, this is what we do, this is why we do it. And there are support systems. So no matter where you are, I think we spoke 2 or 3 months ago, and I was here I was in Birmingham for an Abia meeting.
Okay.
And when you get to any place, people are always going to tell you, oh, well, this is the ACI, that's Abia Communal Improvement Union. That's where we are. If you don't look for us, we'll come and look for you.
You can't even run away from
You can't run away. So that, and then it all ties back to Abia itself. So everybody knows where you're. So and it's so that you could get lost. If you need help, if you need support, there's always somebody there. If anything happens, you can rally from Abia. So there's that. But then the other part of Abia that's always been heavy on I've always carried it is the political development of Abia as a state. I'm extremely happy now that we have Governor Alex Oti, which after 24 years of people just being locusts in the state, finally we have someone. And
it gives hope.
It gives hope.
Yeah.
But for me, a huge sense of pride comes from the fact that I worked for his campaign in 2015 and 2019.
So I can imagine how you feel doing it twice, and you're like, now I've left. So I was like, you're like, why didn't this happen when I was here?
Look, I've thought of that. I'm like, my goodness, I could have, there
would have been no need for you to leave. No, that's real.
Yeah,
there would have been no need for you to leave.
Because I know I would have just been back in Abia, playing that part. Because one, Alex Oti is someone who you can talk to any time of the day. He values constructive conversations.
Okay.
And he's not the one that would say, well, I'm the governor. No, let's talk. Give me, and this is evident from, the first time I met him and I got introduced to him, I was like, you know what? There's this issue around, because again, when it comes to identity politics in Abia or in Nigeria, they're like, oh, are you an Ngwa man or are you an Arochukwu man? And people because we always want to say, look, the governorship should be rotational.
Yeah.
And he had that problem of having a foot in each of these places. And so that if he comes out to say, I'm from Arochukwu, other people say, well, you're not Ngwa, sorry. You're not Ngwa, so we cannot support you because it's not your turn. But if he comes out to say, I'm Ngwa, Arochukwu people will say, well, you're not from Abia North, so we cannot support you because it's not your turn. So I said, you know what, why don't we reframe the narrative as, let's put Abia first. Okay. It doesn't matter where I'm from or where the person is. As long as Abia is first, then that should be our focus. And he bought into it. It became his advertising campaign. It became his political platform, both in 2015, 2019. And he won those elections. That I know. So I could tell you stories of what happened online. And there was a time someone came to me and said, Ndukwe, they're looking for you. You go and hide.
Yeah. Because you're the face of the election behind the scene.
No, not necessarily because, well, at least in Abriba, I carried it on my head and a few of us. But someone just came to me and said, look, we've just been in a meeting and they said, look, if you find this in Ndukwe, so just go and sit down. And it was in 2019 that I realized that when the tear gas you should wash your face with Coke.
Oh, you experienced it?
Oh yeah, look, it's but back to I'm glad to see now that there's a government that is working and that people are actually getting behind because they can see.
Yeah.
So he's not governing by propaganda, and these for me are things that give me hope.
Yeah. that can be done.
That can be done.
Because I think what we always lacked is seeing somebody in front that can do it. So we keep believing that this thing is a big deal. Once someone has done it, because I keep saying the moment we have, so for you, for instance, the fact that you've, and I'm asking this question, someone is like, how long did it take you to become a councillor here?
Let's say about 2.5 years.
Strange. So you see, and someone is like, maybe you have to come and do everything, and you're saying, I came in and the people liked me. And so it's like, it's always strange until we hear it from the right people that this thing is possible. And that's why the narrative is like, let's have more people, let's have the right people do the right thing, so that we keep giving hope and not make people believe that when they keep telling us the leaders of tomorrow, oh, you look back, that leaders of tomorrow looks like a mirage.
Tomorrow never comes.
It never comes. So now, so that I don't take much of your time, what would you say for you? What advice will you give to anyone that is coming into this town that's decided to leave his own? In Nigeria, we call it Japa. And what's that advice coming from you that you've seen? Because the good thing about being a councillor and representing the minority in quotes, and people looking at you as somebody they run to, you would have heard more people coming to give their own complaints. What do you think is that thing that anyone coming in should be aware of, should do, and what works in this part of the world for them to try?
No, so before I even answer that, what you've said, I want to touch on what you've said, and that's the thing of, you do it and then suddenly more people want to. Yeah. It's very true. Since I became a councillor, I've seen an uptick in people registering to be members of political parties, member of Labour Party. And also people saying to me, look, I want to be a councillor, and I always just say, or I want to get involved. I said, look, you know what, go, register, go to your ward meetings, make sure you're there, just play your part. But your question about what people, the advice I would give to anyone that is thinking of Jackman, look, forget everything you know. Forget everything. Moving here is you must be prepared to unlearn, not even relearn, unlearn and learn anew, because the processes are different. The structure is different. The opportunities are different. The culture is different. So if you come in with that bullish Niger attitude that, you know what, if I just go, rough am, the system will rough you. So the system will rough you. So you need to sort of like take a step back and just unlearn everything you've learned. Humble yourself, because this system will humble you. So put it at the back of your mind that, you know what, some nights maybe you go just go sit on one place off flight, just think, see, maybe this, because but it's not from a bad place, but it's just that because we have two separate ways of working, two separate ways of doing things, you can't let your bias stop you from tapping into the opportunities that are here. Yeah. So that's why you need to just let go of I be big boy, let go of God, who I be. Yeah. Let go of,
because that's what we're always known for. Do you know who I am? Do you really know who I am?
So you come here, you're here with your family, and suddenly you realize that you're waking up and taking care of you're getting them ready for school, you are cooking, you're washing, you like, me. A whole me. Let them now know that I did wash plate for kitchen, my brother. If you don't do it,
who will do it?
If you don't work with your spouse to, if you're here as a family, to get everything ready, there's no house help. Well, I mean, you can, but your money reach them.
Yeah.
So it's those little things. It's those things like a meeting is for 2. It's not 2:05. In fact, if it's 2, that means
it's 1:45.
Technically. It's just those little things that if we adjust, to it, and then I think the last thing is you can't hammer in 1 year.
So for most of our listeners, when we say hammer, what we mean is you can't have that breakthrough. You can't have that jackpot. That jackpot.
You can have the breakthrough in 2 months.
Yeah,
you can have it in 1 week, but you can't have that windfall.
Yeah, that happens immediately
in 1 year, because again, there are systems. Sadly, we don't get them
back home
like that, from that. So you can just wake up one day and then someone signs something and you don't hammer. Here, there are, so
you can't hammer. It's even risky for you to hammer like that, because we're asking, how would you pay your tax? Where is it coming from? That's about questions you have to ask. Yeah,
so so we need to learn to build systems, but also we need to learn to build community.
Okay, I think that's even key,
because you look at other people that have been here. You look at the Indian community, the Pakistani community.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they are fruitful. Let me put it that way. There's a reason why you see them thriving. It's because there's that sense of communal effort.
Okay.
One of the biggest issues we have is our individualism.
Yeah.
It's a strength when you're back home and you notice that, look, the government is not going to do anything for you, so
you're your government.
You're your own government.
You're your water, you're your light, you're everything. Yeah, true.
And all you need to do is maybe just know one person and you don't hammer. But here, there's strength in community. And as long as every person walks their individual paths, we will never, ever be able to thrive as other communities that came to this country at about the same time we did.
That's deep, because at the end of the day, we run away from, most of the conversation is that people run away from people like them, because the idea is, if you've left your part of the world to come here, of what need is it coming to cluster with people like you? But you'll see, maybe that's what works.
No, but see, look, and I understand. I was having a conversation with some people the other day, and I said to them, look, being Nigerian is traumatic. I remember the first few times a few times I've seen armed police in some certain places.
Yeah.
I just sort of like had some sort of like crazy flashback, and I had to walk myself through, like, no, these guys are calm, just
it's not where you're coming from. Yeah.
Let's be honest, being Nigerian is a traumatic experience. So I understand when people come here like, what, I don't want to see I don't want to go to and closer with Nigerians and whatever. And that is because sadly, we've been conditioned to not trust ourselves, to not trust each other. We've been conditioned that, somebody is always out to get you. And so we find it hard to work together.
Yeah.
But then there is where the unlearning thing happens. Because when you come here, you see someone from a community that comes to maybe fix something in your house.
Yeah.
The people that are helping him are from his own community. The person doing his accounting is from that community. The person working on his car is from that community. The money stays
in the system
within that community.
Circle. Yeah. Sure.
And if you look at stats of different communities and how much, I was watching a documentary, I don't remember the name now, by Killer Mike.
Okay.
And like in America, they looked at the Asian community, the Jewish community, the white community, and the black community, and checked how much or how long money circulates within each community before they leave, they move out. So for like the Jewish, Asian community, had things like maybe 21 days or thereabout, high digits.
Yeah.
But then it got to the black community, and take a guess how many days money stays in the black community before it moves out?
48 hours.
6 hours.
Jeez, I was generous. Jeez.
So when you don't control
true.
you don't control your means, we're the biggest consumers.
That's another part.
We're the biggest consumers. Sometime last year, someone called me in Abia and was like, why don't you guys have, why is there no like African Community Association or something in Derby? Because I know you guys, everybody wants to come in, buy big cars, and I had to sit there and listen to this, and be humble about the fact that this guy was telling me the truth.
The truth.
We're consumers. We're buying designer clothes. We're buying big cars. We're throwing big lavish parties, but we don't own property. We don't own businesses. And when I say not as if there's none, but there's no system where you can say this money, this £1 will circulate in this community for at least 5 days before it leaves.
Which is smart, and I don't need anyone to tell me that the Jewish, they don't joke with it. The Jews and the Asians don't joke with so
because you need to, and this is not even so much about your faith or religion or whatever it is. It's the fact that if you want your community to thrive, then you need to control your economic destiny.
True.
And if then that gives you political influence. And political influence in turn gives you more economic power. So they work together.
Yeah.
One thing that will never work for the community is that rugged individualism.
True. Thanks, Andy. I think that's food for thought. So finally, what are your best moments in the UK traveling? Best moments that you see, that you look at your happy moments.
I think it will be, and no matter how much I do love work, I do love what I do, but sometimes when you're just traveling and you're out with the family, that works.
So that's like priority to you. Okay, Andy. So this is a coconut.
Yeah, man.
This is for you.
Thanks.
And whatever you want to do with it. But let me ask you: have you really broken your coconut?
I know that you've entered the talk of the elders, so please break it down for a layman like me. When you say "Am I broken my coconut?" what does that mean?
So have you done that thing that you think you were called for? Have you done that thing that you feel, I've done it, I'm here, I've beat my odds, I'm in it, I can't go back, nothing can happen again? Have you beat all your odds that's in front of you?
No, I don't think. I don't think it's possible. But then, being the restless soul that I am,
okay,
I know that once I break one, I'm like, oh, you know what? So that was one level. So I'd rather look at it as I've broken this odds or whatever. I'm like, okay, I've just finished one level, on to the next one.
Okay.
So I think I'm too restless to say, well, you know what? This is it. At least yet. At least not yet, yeah.
Fair. So take this, keep breaking.
Will do. Thanks, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy, for having you, man.
Thanks, Charles.
Good to do this.